For the first time ever in ERBOI history, let's try to get a mod done quickly and correctly the first time. Hey guys, it's ERBOI, and today we're hopefully going to do some car work. And you might have noticed that right now we're actually not in a car's interior that you'd recognize, and that's because we're in my mom's Toyota 4Runner since we need to wash it, and since my car doesn't have a rear view mirror in it, which means that I haven't been able to drive it for a little bit. So while he's washing the car, I have to make some announcements for the channel myself. Firstly, I've finally updated my filming setup. The other thing is that I am in fact going to go back to some roast content that's like what probably originally brought you to this channel. Because what's crazy is that it's been over a year since I've done my famous JR Garage video. And while I also think it would be nice to check in on how he's doing again, there are some other channels and situations that I think need to be talked about on YouTube. And also, as one final last bit of information, I finally now have more merchandise. Because while the stickers have been a pretty big success, I'm currently wearing the Rice Crew t-shirt. So I'm probably going to put a link down in the description to our Amazon page where we have 2 different styles, 5 different colors, as well as men's and women's fit with Prime shipping. It's $20, all the money goes to help support the channel, and honestly, this is a really nice shirt, because while I had my reserves on if it would be good initially, this is not a Gildan shirt, it's high quality fabric, it's nice and soft, and if I ever meet up with you in person and I see you wearing one, you're definitely gonna get massive props and a shout out. And trust me, I get it. Every single YouTuber out there has merch, and every single YouTuber falls into the exact same area where they're just plugging their own stuff because they want to make money. I'm not like that. I drive a $2,200 car, and I'm blatantly honest with everyone who I talk to. And to be frank, you can get a shirt if you want to, you can get a sticker if you want to, but at the end of the day, it's all good, because I just want to have this as a way where if you want to say that you're a self-made guy and you're not ashamed about who you are, where you come from, you can go for it. So yeah, if you want a shirt or a sticker, down in the description. So now that we're done with the boring talky part, now I'm at AutoZone because I need to get a pulley puller, since that's something that I'm not going to pay for and actually buy myself. So at the AutoZone, we have officially rented our pulley. Had to pay 54 bucks just to assure them that I'm not going to steal this thing. But this should hopefully take off my crank pulley and put on the lightweight 2J Racing one. And also something that was cool while I was here is that this genius of a man brought in his daughter to ask if they had any blinker fluid. So props to you for wanting to teach your daughter automotive stuff before it's too late. Alright, so this is my first time driving this 2015 Toyota 4Runner, so I'm just going to give it a quickie review with this weird shifter. Okay, that's sport mode and this is drive. I don't know. Because for the last week I've been driving our family's 99 Explorer, and it's a pretty decent car. And this just feels like a really weird version of it. Okay, just for perspective, I was going 10 around that corner and the front tire squealed. And right now we're going 20 miles per hour and the steering feels like it's going to another planet. Basically, this vehicle is really wide, has really scrunched down windows, and even though it has an attempting to be sporty looking gauge cluster, this vehicle weighs 4,000 pounds and has less than 300 horsepower. So this hill is now doing havoc on the torque converter. Because the thing is that as an off-roader, this would still be a decent vehicle. I mean, I could understand why the SR5 and trail trims exist. But the thing is that this is a limited. So they put chrome trim on it to gussy it up to make you think it's a baby Range Rover. Yet it does that instead of acting like it's sporty. So this is basically the world's most confused car. And if you actually want to see me do a full review of it, then leave a comment down below. But this is probably one of the weirdest cars I've driven. And it's not comfortable whatsoever to drive or to ride in. Now I'm going to do the handling test. Wow. Skirt. So it is a little while later. I've done some laundry and have finished up a paper for one of my riding courses, but now we're going to do some unfinished business, which includes installing this panoramic rearview mirror that I got. Because while I was going to make an initial video on installing this thing, I realized that pretty much everybody else out there on YouTube has already done it before me, so I've spared you guys the trouble of watching it by just doing part of it now. So we ended up learning that the crappy plastic mirror buttons that it came with don't end up working with the adhesive that we were using chemically. So now we're going to go to AutoZone, get some food, get the correct pulley puller that I need for my car, and we're also hopefully going to find some metal windshield buttons that work with what we're putting on. Also today we got the Explorer some new headlight housing, so now we can finally see at night with it. So guys, it is the next day, but some good news is that I went to AutoZone, and I ended up getting the right pulley puller set for my particular type of pulley, and I also got some new mounting buttons for my panoramic mirror. Now these are some metal ones, and somehow they just barely slide into the plastic clips that are included with the setup that I have. And as you can see, it sort of stretches out the plastic right there. Well guys, it's a full week later, and the problems that I've had with the mirror have actually only gotten worse. Because I was hoping for this episode that it would be more focused towards putting the crank pulley on, but the problems with the mirror have just been snowballing again and again. Because I thought I'd be able to get it done in just one day. But little did I know that the adhesive that it came with was bad, the plastic buttons that it came with didn't work, and that for literally every other mirror button that I've tried, albeit metal, including adhesive, not including adhesive, I have spent literally 2 weeks trying out all these different combinations in order to attach it to my windshield just like the old one was. Because I knew that things weren't going to go well for this the second that I took off a small chunk of glass, even taking the old one off. So now, we're going to go about attaching it the old method that everyone else uses, of just using where the sun visors are mounted right there, in order to attach it with brackets. So the game plan is to go to Home Depot, get some metal so that way we can fabricate some brackets for the mirror, and then pray that we can actually get it on and stabilized before tomorrow for autocross, because, yeah, all I've learned from these experiences is to not trust any adhesive, to not trust, AutoZone O'Reilly's mirror buttons, because unless if it's a really light mirror, your shit's gonna fall off. Especially if you're as unlucky as I am. So we ended up getting a piece of flat aluminum and a piece of flat steel. We're gonna make brackets out of both of them, see which one works better, and yeah, hoping that we can actually get this mirror on in time. Well, it's been some time later. But as you can see, we managed to get it on. And yes, my visors still work, even though they're from an Altima and they're already larger. It does, however, mean that we had to do a lot of modifications to the bracket that holds up this mirror. Because while I didn't film the fabrication process, since it really took a long time, we had to basically go off of the bolts from the sun visor, go down, go forwards, then go down again with the metal by just bending it a lot. And even still, it does slightly restrict the movement of the visors, but then again, all that matters is that I can block out the sun if I need to, which is helpful. And, you know, honestly, I'm just glad enough that we managed to get this thing in before autocross. Alright guys, I have decided to waste no more time for the issue at hand, so we've already taken off the passenger side wheel and the access panel to the crank pulley. So now, for the first time ever in RicerBoy history, let's try to get a mod done quickly and correctly the first time. My trusty assistant, Mr. Simon, is on the job. Meow. But anyways, back to business. If you have a Spec V, you may already know this, but in order to remove the belt, and especially to remove the crank pulley, you need to activate your tensioner, which is located right here. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to turn the 14mm bolt that's on the end of it. For that, you just use a flat wrench like this. Then the other thing you have to do is that there is a hole that you are going to be turning at the top of the pulley. That's going to match up with the hole that's currently on the block right there. And you just need to put literally a hex key to match the holes up, which then will serve the objective of detensing the pulley. Now this is a 4mm hex key, and it's just going to go through that hole on that protrusion you see on the block, and through the hole that you're going to turn with the tensioner once you put the wrench on it. Alright, so as you may be able to see right there, we have the hex key in between the holes, which has now left the belt detensed. So, we can take it off the crank pulley now. Bada bing, bada boom, the belt is off. Now this is where the fun begins. Get inside of the car, push in the clutch, and shift it into 6th gear, or whatever your maximum gear is. Then release the clutch. Now just get your impact wrench and a 19mm socket and give that center bolt a whirl. And lo and behold, I do not have a 19mm 6-pointed impact socket. There she goes. Now we're finally at the home of all quality tools. Alright, now finally we can let the impact do its work. Haha! That was easy. Now it is normal to expect to see a little bit of oil in the pulley and on the bolt after you take it off, but that's completely fine. After all, it is attached to the crankshaft, which is at the bottom of the engine, so you can't expect all of those seals to hold for the time that your car has been around. So just make sure that you clean off the old pulley and the bolt when you reuse it. Make sure you keep everything clean and don't get any dirt in that area. So this is the part where our little friend, the pulley puller, comes in. Because obviously you can't pull out that pulley by just using your hands. And if you see those 2 little holes that are on the spokes that are on the sides, that's where you put in your bolts that then go through this slot and this slot. And after you have that in, the idea is that this will push at the center to separate the pulley from the engine. Now this may be a step that you're going to have to take if you live on the East Coast especially, but when it comes to those 2 little holes on the spokes of the crank pulley, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some liquid wrench on them since they're a bit rusty. And also when I went to the hardware store to find the right thread pitch for those holes, the interesting thing is there's actually so much rust on them that I couldn't find anything metric that worked. So what I have here, just in case, is a tap and die for a 1/4 20 thread, which is standard if you know your units, and that will be the fallback in case if I can't get them in after the liquid wrench sets. And trust me, I'm just as surprised as you are, but the 1/4 20 thread somehow works without even using the tap and die. I don't even know if this car is Japanese or not, but whatever. Now just for the purposes of safety, I did properly tap all the holes in the pulley to 1/4 20, and with just a couple turns of the puller in the position that it's in now, I was actually able to get the stock crank pulley loose, because as you can see, it wobbles off just like that. So, with the hardest step out of the way, now I can put the new one on. So now we can finally toss this chunky 8-pound piece of shit. Now folks, what you are seeing right there is the crank seal. So you want to make sure not to get any dirt or detritus in there, so that way your car runs well and your oil filter doesn't have to put in any extra work. Now as you may notice, there is a small spot that sticks out on the crankshaft. I might put an arrow to it right now, but that will actually match up to a little indentation that is on your new pulley. And at least for my pulley, I currently have the billet aluminum 2J Racing lightened crank pulley, and I know that OBX makes another one, but it's the exact same installation process on that, where you just match that up to the crankshaft and then tighten the bolt to factory specifications. Now crank pulley bolts don't actually tighten in the traditional way that most bolts tighten on a car. The factory spec is to tighten the bolt to 34 foot-pounds, and then after that to use a mark on the pulley as a reference to turn the pulley another 60 degrees to 66 degrees of tightness. So basically, you torque it to spec, and then you keep turning that bolt until a mark on the pulley, such as the 2 in 2J Racing right there, is 60 degrees farther one direction than it was before. Now everyone, I do apologize because I did misspeak in the last clip, because what I meant to say is you actually need to get a Sharpie and mark a straight line that goes from the center of the bolt to one side on the crank pulley, and what you want is 60 degrees of separation between the line on the bolt and the line on the pulley. Alright, first test start, here we go. Alright, now the a test to see if it's worked is to see if the car revs more responsibly than it used to. Okay, that is noticeable. So on this beautiful day, I decided to go out for a little bit of a drive. Went out by the lake just to test out this pulley. And I have to say, this is one of the best mods you can do to your Sentra. The rev hang is basically completely gone. The dynamics of the vehicle with my motor mount inserts are a lot better. And really, with how quickly you can shift with the car now, it truly does feel like a Japanese sports car. But yeah, I know I tightened it right. No abnormal noises, no clunking. And the exhaust is still sounding fire. A little bit of a bonus for today. You might already know that my air intake is currently held up by a zip tie right over there. So I'm going to test fit my new intake that I'm going to put on, and I'm going to sticker bomb it too, because about 1 year ago today, I not only unveiled my stickers, but I also said I was going to sticker bomb my hood until I realized that it would make more sense to repaint my car. So we're going to try on this little intake part to see if it actually works as a short ram intake. So on the agenda, I'm just going to sticker bomb that pipe right there and hook everything up off camera. And yeah, that'll be my intake all situated. But even though this video was a total mess, it will have to come to an end with us in front of the recently upgraded Sentra. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks for watching and peace out.